inspired to push through. Because there's a spark in you. Breakthrough or bust. Hello, loves. How are you today? Welcome back, or welcome for the first time to Breakthrough or Bust. So happy to have you here. And I'm so happy for the guest that we have here. His name is Brandon Handley, and he's with Spiritual Dope. And, you know, one of the things that I find so fascinating about Brandon is that very much the energy that was coming up a short while ago about being the most authentic version of you that you can is what is exemplified in my meeting with Brandon. So I've known him for years and years, and we knew each other in a very professional setting. And just kind of passing each other, passing emails, right? Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Very formal, very polite. And it's funny because I had talked about that being that real version of you. And sometimes you reach out to the crowds, to the groups, to the people that you think are the ones that are for you. You think those are your tribes. And you maybe get your hand slapped a little bit, or you get the cold shoulder and you think, oh, I've shared too much. Where it's actually that you haven't shared enough of yourself. Because truly the right people they'll magnetize to you wherever. And so this was kind of that case. I ended up with a mutual friend doing a podcast with him, and he said, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were in the spiritual realm here in this space. And I said, I didn't know you were either. And so we ended up coming together, and we're guesting on each other's shows. And it's just such a great example of the whole thing of you can't say the wrong things to the right people, and you just can't ever guess or suspect or know where those right people are going to fall into place, right? You may have an assumption, but you know what they say about making it or assuming, right? So let me welcome Brandon Handley.
Hey,
Brandon,
Kaluwa, how are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, awesome. Glad to be here. It's funny, right? A couple of things you said in there that I chuckled about. First of all, you just said professional, and I was like, well, I don't know how professional, but
Yeah.
you
Well,
you maybe more than
it's
me. Uh, and then yeah, exactly what you're saying is like here we are. I think operating on like this other platform in the spiritual space. And why would Kaluwa want to hear from me if I'm in the spiritual? She wouldn't want to know, whatever. So you're not the
yeah.
first person that comes up, because I think if you ever go to the Spiritual Dope website, it says that I'm not patchouli wearing linen shirt guy. We've got this kind of image of like what spiritual looks like. And if you've ever even been in the spiritual space, sometimes it can get like exhausting, right? And
Yes,
like
yes.
I'm trying not to engage like in an exhausting way that tells you how you're supposed to be. And like again, it's really, you can't tell from a distance, are they going to be into my shit?
Yeah. Yeah, for
Right.
sure. And it's funny because that was always my story, is like I would reach out to the crowds, right? The patchouli
Hmm.
crowds. And
Mm,
there was just never this warm embrace. And I was like,
right.
oh, but no, really, I'm one of you. And they're like, no,
Right.
not really. Go away, poser.
Right. There's they've got like, listen, and I think anywhere, right? I always make fun of myself. And a couple of my friends. If you've ever seen the movie, I think High Fidelity,
Mhm.
and right, and he goes, "Y'all are a bunch of elitists," and like everybody's a bunch of elites. Some you get into
Yeah.
a group and you're like, "Well,
Yeah.
listen, I don't know if you're gonna make it through the gauntlet over here, but feel
Yes.
free to try." Oh, too
Yes.
bad you only made it through the past, first three steps. You're out,
There you
right?
go.
You didn't pass the test.
That's it.
What's
But
your favorite color?
ultimately, I believe that was part of my journey, is to not
Mm,
fit in anywhere, even the places where
sure.
I thought I was supposed to, because
Right.
that is what makes me, I think, such a nurturer, where I want to create this safe
Mm,
space for people that,
yeah.
everybody, it's like the island of misfit toys. Just everyone come,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I am one of you. And so, yeah, and that's it. Like you just never know. And you can have this idea of, oh yeah, these are my people, right? Like we all look and we look the same and we do the same things
Right.
and somehow you're not.
Right.
And I think part of that too is even that coming more and more and more in touch with your authentic being. Because sometimes we think we are something, and yet we're not even there yet.
Oh yeah. Listen, and that's it. Too. We like what started me on this journey into spiritual dope. Um, of course, consciously, and even not so consciously, right, was an awakening experience. And you're like, oh, I'm in a space and this is it. But like, that's just the beginning. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, dude,
Yeah.
just getting started. Great. Awesome. Sorry, I showed up to the party late. I didn't even bring any snacks. Right.
Yeah.
And 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 that's what I spent probably the past 5 years doing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been about 5 years. I've been trying to figure out like what is the language that I use to express what I went through.
Yeah.
What is the language to, how do I, I'm thinking like mating call. Like, what's my like spiritual mating call, right? Like, caw-caw, caw-caw. Oh, he's in the spirituality. We get it, right? Like, there's a signal. There's like gang signs. You're like, I don't
Yeah.
know, right? And like namaste is not one of them. Like, go
Yeah.
away. It's like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at the same time, like, I don't mean that in 100%. But like, yes, I see the divinity within you. But like, sometimes some of the stuff is like so like, all right, stop before we
Yeah.
even start. No.
Sometimes spirituality requires the F word, it's like,
Oh, yeah. Well, so
right.
that was another thing that I learned, and is what made this journey. Um, there was a liberation effect. I'd seen a Buddhist reverend. I don't know. He was giving a talk, right? Well-known guy, right up the street from me. And what were the odds in that, too? By the way, like
Yeah.
it was like a 7-minute drive up to this event. There was a Buddhist temple right down the street from me. I couldn't have planned it any better if I wanted to. Go down and we have this event, and I'm all, we're meditating, we're all sitting on cushions. First of all, I'd never even like before I'd even gone to this event, never been there. I didn't know what to expect. Everybody's sitting on these meditation cushions. I'm like, oh, what do I do here? Like, what's happening? So that was interesting of itself. But then as he's giving his speech, like somewhere in there, he drops like the F bomb. I was like, oh, what? This
Yeah.
is awesome. I was like,
Yeah.
it just humanized everything. Like it
Yeah.
brought everything down to a level like where my shoulders like probably visibly dropped in that moment, and like I could breathe in that moment. I was like, oh, he's one of me, and you know what I mean? We're all in this thing together. But yeah, the F bomb, the any bomb, like whatever, shit happens, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's it. There's so much of that, like, ah, blessings, peace, right?
Mm,
And that love
mm,
light, right? And yes, that is beautiful and that's wonderful. But
sure,
sometimes, actually, most of the time, spiritual growth is not beautiful. It hurts. You do it because you want to grow, and
sure,
what's on the other side is worth it.
yeah.
But going through that process, going through that growth, that transformation can be brutal.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I
Mhm.
haven't honestly felt like the brutality of it. And that's the
Okay.
one thing where I differ, I think, with so far with a lot of people. I'm sure that like I've got a big old fucking dark night of the souls like right around the corner, right? Type of thing.
Mhm.
Like, haha, you didn't think this was coming. You thought you could escape us, type of thing. Because like it's been a journey. It's
Yeah.
been growth, but I wouldn't call it painful. I would
Mm,
call it all learning. And and
yeah.
like, there's a lot of the people that have to go through this dark night of the soul. Like everything has to be tragically terrible for them to step into their own power, which is
Yeah.
like a message that I've always been like, it's like, you don't have to wait. It's already there. You can join that place anytime you want. The problem is that like we're all so safe and comfortable where we are now, or
Yeah.
even comfortable in our own misery because the devil, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, there's a couple devils you don't know across the corner. Like, go hang out with them for a little bit, like whatever, right?
Yeah.
Um, and if you start leaning into it, and I think the way that you have, and you and I, when we talked, I loved listening to your journey, going all the way to the beginning, and just kind of listening to the just nice growth throughout the entire thing, right?
Yeah.
It can be a nice, easy growth. The pain comes from the expectations. The pain comes from wanting everything to happen faster. The pain comes from like,
Yes, that's my guilt.
right, right. The pain comes from like our expectations, and
Sure.
the pain comes. So
Well, I would say I know from my experience, and then I'm a big fan of just like no one diet for every single person.
yeah,
Everyone's
yeah,
spiritual truth is different too.
yeah, yeah.
So I know for mine, it was a few scenarios where I had to lean into the emotions, and
Mm,
especially was it last winter where it was like generational stuff that had
mm,
been passed down for years, and it's like, man, when you have to sit with that for an entire family, it's
mm.
like,
Yeah,
that's a lot of crap, and it felt heavy. It
sure,
felt heavy in my chest. Like it was hard to breathe for a
sure.
while. It was like, I mean, I went on a vacation, like just got away, went to the mountains and just relaxed and
Yeah,
stepped away from everything. And doing that allowed me to sort of surface back out of it. But it
sure,
wasn't one of those things that, like, as I went into it, I was like, yippee.
sure, sure, sure. It's cool though, right? Like, I mean, it's cool being on the journey and realizing that you're a spiritual being having a, and listen, whatever that means to you, realizing that you are a spiritual being having this physical journey.
Yeah.
And to me, or the physical having the what are they, what are we, humans, right? Human.
Yes.
So having that journey, and if I think about how I came along in mine without like any guardrails, right? By guardrails, I mean no spiritual. I didn't have a spiritual practice. I didn't have a religious upbringing. So it's just kind of like catch as catch can, and move along this thing. What do we call it? Like fumbling forward into this thing. Um, what I found in reading stuff like Tibetan Buddhism, I'm literally like in the middle of this book right now. It's called the Bliss of Inner Fire. It just talks about like some I think Tibetan Buddhism and yoga practices and breath work.
Hmm.
But one of the things that they tell you to do is like literally imagine yourself as a deity, right? Like
Hmm.
think and like wholeheartedly believe in that, right? Imagine that you are God. Imagine that you are not separate from the universe, right? Because you're not. But
Yeah.
it's so hard for Westerners to kind of link onto that. But um, if you go to the beginning of spiritual dope, like I call it like the divine practice, and realizing that you are divine, and
Yes.
that changes your whole mindset. Like if you just think about it for a moment, and you translate God, like even if you have a problem, right? Let's say you have a problem
Hmm.
with God. Let's
Hmm.
say you have a problem with a higher power. Okay, let's all that, right? The what you could do is say, all right, maybe it's my subconscious that's that higher power, right? Because my subconscious can create blood cells, grows hair,
Yeah.
turns food like into like nuclear reactions, and turns food into human bodies. And oh wait, that's actually happening within me, and I'm the one doing it. What else am I capable of? Right?
Absolutely.
So in regards to like let go and let God, right? If you've got this big problem, uh stop trying to solve it with like your 40 kilobit, like maybe even 40-bit, like prefrontal cortex problem solver that can't solve problems for shit, and
Yes.
send it to like your quantum mega machine that does like 40 quadrillion bits per second of
Your
like processing power,
supercomputer.
and in your subconscious, and be like, let go and let God, and back the fuck away for a minute.
Yeah.
And I promise you, like, if you can't, if you're not quite there in saying the universe will help me,
Hmm.
let go, let God, then send it to your subconscious, the thing that makes sure that you don't pee your pants tonight.
Yes. Yeah. And that was, for me, I remember that the big thing was, I started with money stuff. Like I
Mm,
had all of this fear and all of this stuff with money stuff. And then finally I had to wait a second. Why am I doing this to myself
mhm,
constantly? I
yeah,
always break even. But I torture myself all month long, right? Why do this? I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to have trust. I'm
right,
going to have faith this month that
yeah,
everything will go fine. And every time I caught myself going into that habit, I'm like, oh, no, no, no. This month is an experiment. I'm
right,
having faith.
right,
And lo and behold, I had more than enough
sure,
and I didn't suffer all month,
wow,
torturing myself with worry. And so
right.
that's it, even if you start with small things like, the money stuff or relationship stuff, any of that stuff, just start with that faith and
Can I give
handing
you?
it over.
Let me give you like one of my favorite exercises that I came up with when I was doing the prosperity practice, right? Just developing, prosperous mindset. You ever go and you're buying groceries and you use your debit card, and then
Mhm.
it says, "Do you want cash back?" And you're always like, right, right,
Yeah.
because it's always like, "Do you want cash back?" And it says yes or no. In your mind, you're screaming, "Yes, I want some of that cash," but no, I shouldn't take it. I should keep it in the bank. Press yes next time. Take some of your own fucking
Okay.
money. It's yours. Like, it's liberating. You're like, huh, I'm gonna take 20 bucks.
That's a good point because it's like I don't even have any cash on me. Like at this point, it's such a habit to not carry cash
Mhm.
that I'm just like, no, yeah, okay, I'm doing it.
And do you know why I carry cash? Is because Susie Orman has like some like numerological like carry like $180 in your pocket at all times, do like numerology. I was like, well, if it worked for her, I'm in.
Wow.
Um, but anytime, but do you want cash back? Yes, is the answer. Always. It's always yes. It's never no. Never no. But at least like every once in a while, give it to yourself because it
Yeah.
chances are it is there. And if it's not, like, I don't know, get 10 back or something. You don't have to get like 180. You don't have
Yeah.
to get like a big number, but like it's always nice, and this even goes, sorry, like I'm just going on like rabbit holes here.
No, that's
But
how we roll here.
even with like Abraham Hicks, right? She's and
Mhm.
I built a whole program. I'm happy to share with like your audience too,
Yeah.
off of the prosperity practice, like where you put $100 in your pocket and you walk all around town, and mentally you're like, oh, I could buy that shoe, I could buy that, I could buy that. Now, if you actually have $100 in your pocket, it's even almost it's actually
Yeah.
real,
Yeah.
right? Like, what are you holding yourself back from?
Yeah. I love that. That is such
Yes,
a
the
great.
answer is always yes. You always want cash back.
Always want cash back. Okay. All right.
You can always redeposit it, like, if you have to,
Yeah,
like, I
that's
don't
true.
know.
That's
Like,
true.
take out $100, be like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that," and go put it back in, whatever, man, but, like, at least give yourself the permission to have something
Buyer's
that's only
remorse.
yours.
Yeah. So you mentioned Abraham Hicks. Tell me a little
Mhm.
bit. I love Abraham Hicks, so
Yeah,
please,
man.
let's
So,
nerd out on that.
Abraham, like, geeked out on Abraham Hicks for a good 6 or 7 months,
Mhm.
um, and I forget exactly why. Somebody's like, "Hey, listen to this," so I did,
Yeah. I love
and
they have all those 15-minute clips. So it's like
that's
every time you gotta run up the road, I throw it on.
that's actually by design. You can share any of her content that you want, but no more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool of her to allow,
Mhm.
because like, some people do some really cool stuff with it. I love her rampages. There's a high flying disc rampages are my favorite. There's a high flying disc rampages by with music by like Loving Saskiana or something like that. So if you ever, and she always says, don't put on the high flying disc if you're feeling down. You should just, again,
Yeah.
like, always be on a high flying disc. And high flying disc means, like, remember back in the day when you had CD players or any disc that you'd put anywhere, and you would put in like, all right, let's put in this I'm feeling good disc, meaning like, all right, I want to feel good. And I can actually do that anytime, anywhere I want, and focus on the positives in my life. And so, um, huge fan of hers. Just opened me up to so many different things, and what was, it just becomes like this. It becomes like this internalization of this stuff, right? Like,
Mhm.
you just keep it on repeat, and just
Yeah.
it becomes embedded code in your body, right?
Mhm.
Just like, this is
Yeah.
like, it's
Well,
all
it's
I
just
know
it's
now,
great.
right?
We've got so much bad programming, right?
Listen, I'm super trying to displace it so hard right now. And like, in so many ways. And it's not even displace it. It's just like, how do you reorganize the data that you've got so that you can use it effectively?
Yeah. For me, it's just always mind blowing when I realize that I've hit another, thing that I had always believed. And it's like, wait,
Mm,
well, this is crap. And it's like, this serves me in no way. Why have I always bought into this? Oh my gosh, I can't believe, right? And it's like every so often I have those like hits of,
yeah.
oh God, there's another one.
Well, I mean, I think the deal is, and I'm no psychologist or anything like that, but most of what we think we know about the world is developed by the time we're 6 or 7, right?
Yes, yes.
So I don't know. Imagine you kept your laptop from 10 years ago and you're still using all the programs in there from like 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, like, somebody else is using StreamYard, and you're trying to, like, hold an actual, like, camera up, right? You're like, oh, look, I got you on camera. Right. Let's get this on videotape, and come over to me. We'll put it in the VCR and we'll watch this later. I mean, that's literally like, I mean, that's probably 20 years ago now, but
Yeah.
but imagine, and that's what we're doing. We're like, all right, let's use these 20-year-old, 40-year-old programs, right? That kept us alive. Not super beneficial beyond that, though.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I do think that as a civilization, as a culture, as society, we are upgrading.
Mm,
We're moving along. I always think of it as like, you move along your chakra systems, right? Opening things up. And I think as a community, we do the same. And I think we're moving up now more into the heart and I think the throat. That's why we're hearing so many people
sure.
speak up.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think a lot of this stuff is starting to break down where, okay, we were down in those more survival
Yeah.
chakras,
Yeah.
just do what you got to do to survive. And now it's like, okay, well, maybe let's add some love to it.
Sure. No, it's I think it's been a good, probably the past 7,500 years, right? You kind of look at the beatnik generation, which opened it up for the hippies, which opened it up to like all the cocaine in the 80s, which opened it up to like the 90s, and like kind of like this other space. But like now it's like, where a lot of us, myself anyways, product of a hippie generation,
Hmm.
um, where a lot of what's coming up here now is what I was taught, didn't want to believe. This happens in other societies too, right? Like, I talked to one of the guys I read a lot, Sri Kumar Rao. Same story for him, right? Like, the spirituality, the stuff is taught to us, but we kind of got to experience it ourselves. And then the other piece of this whole thing is like, we're always like, the universe is always expanding. We are at the edge of creation at all times, right?
Yeah.
As we are expanding as the universe together, we are on the edge of creation. And what we're choosing to create now, you, myself, and more people, because um it's kind of like that, it's like the Marianne Williamson poem, right? Like, everybody's giving each other the ability to do it by doing it themselves, right?
Hmm.
Your
Yes.
light allows others to light up, and stuff like that. So,
Yes.
and then we've also got the safety of this glass, right? Which
Yeah.
is great. It's like, all right, I'm safe back here.
Yeah.
If shit goes hairy, I'm just gonna control alt delete. I don't know, man. I'm gonna bug out. I don't know what happened to my connection. Shit. And I'm gonna change my name, and nobody will ever find me on Facebook ever again. So we've got that. I think another piece of this too is like, the pandemic is scary and as crazy as the whole thing was. It impacted the entire world at one time. It
Hmm.
put everybody into like this it was the straw that broke the camel's back. Like if we think about everybody in the world at the beginning of the pandemic, we were already in fight or flight every day, right?
Yes.
We were already in fight or flight every day. And now we're like, you are stuck in fight or flight in your house with your family, your loved ones, and all you've got to save you is more news about how shit's not getting better. It was like, fuck
Yeah.
it, that's it. Dude. I can't take anymore.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We're I can't share this with my husband anymore. I can't share this with my wife anymore. I'm just gonna go on Facebook and put it all on blast. I'm experiencing some shit. Right.
Well, and
And
not just that, if you were operating on autopilot and just going through the motions and not
Mhm.
really fulfilled, then it was just amplified because now you were just sitting in it.
Yeah, your routine is jacked.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about this whole thing was that even executives were impacted, right? So
Mhm.
nobody was safe from this. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like, well, all the commoners, I know you've got children, but you're gonna have to like suck it up and just do whatever because the executives were impacted too. Like everybody had to go through it. And that to me reestablished like this human connection, especially in a couple of places that I worked where it was like, oh, you're going through some shit. All right, we get it. We're all kind of in the same place. And yeah, maybe you should not burn out. We get that there's like Zoom fatigue. We get that,
Mhm.
like, you know what, like maybe shut down for the day, right? Um, so it opened up this space that hadn't seemed to be, it was always available, just like our spirituality, right? It opened up this space that didn't seem to be available before, which is like, let's be humans again. Like,
Yes.
so that was cool.
That was where we've started to hear, which I'm always talking about, but we started to hear more about the divine feminine because we were
Mm,
so far in that masculine go, 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 go,
sure.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's burnout, right? And I mean, and I always say we cannot have one without the other. It's yin and
Sure.
yang. It's,
Right.
they blend so beautifully together, but we're so far in the masculine that we
Yeah.
need to start incorporating that feminine. And that is for the men and the women.
Yeah. But I think that looks like, hyper masculinity looks like, productivity at all costs, bottom
Exactly.
line at all costs,
Exactly.
institute at all costs.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like at all costs kind of gets like old, right?
Yeah. Well, and
Um,
that's it, and that's why people were just, like, dropping of
yeah.
exhaustion or
Yeah.
autoimmune issues and, all of these things showing up because they're just so depleted, and when you just took that moment to sit back and say, "What do I love?
Mhm.
What brings me pleasure in this life?" And maybe give a couple of minutes towards it every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
All of a
Yeah.
sudden, things just shifted, and when
Yeah.
people started to notice like, "Oh, hey, I actually am more successful when I'm allowing myself some happiness, some joy."
Yeah.
Like, it just comes to me instead of like, being in front of the computer 18 hours a day and nothing happens. But
So
instead, I'll be in front of the computer a few hours a day and then go have some fun, come back and, oh, look at all the sales.
so that's trusting the universe is another, right?
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
here you are like trying to bang it all out on your own,
Mhm.
and you're, well, I mean, ego, I guess, edging God out, right?
Of
Like,
course. Yeah.
and like I think about it in the terms of like just let's pretend, just I'm looking around for like a prop and I don't fucking have any. No props. Wasn't prepared. But it's like just like like put a big old box in front of you, right? And like then like tell everybody to come give you a hug. Like they can't
Yeah.
because you're putting all of your energy out there in front of you. You're not letting something come in.
Yeah.
And if you're a Bob Proctor fan, if you're an anybody else fan, and if you've ever heard the line, universe, abhors a vacuum, right?
Mhm.
Step away, something's gonna fill this space. It's like when you put your
Yes.
hand in water type of
Yeah.
thing, like something's gonna come in. And generally, if we're Roomy fans, what you're seeking is seeking you.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Yeah. It's so true. And, you know, I mean, again, this is more programming. It's not like we're horrible people and we just have it all wrong. It's just
Like
what
five
has
people are
been
super bad
taught.
though. Like there's like five super bad people.
Yeah, let's name them. But
Check the show notes for the list.
yes, this is what has been passed down from generation to generation to generation, and you've got to work hard and you've
Mm,
got to do this. I mean, what was it like? The work that the quality of the work you do, it tells everyone about your character, and you know, like
it
exactly,
tells
you
everybody I
don't
could
get
give
to do what
two
you
less
love
fucks
or
about
else
the
it would be
job I'm
called
doing.
play, and
Right.
like all of these messages. So this is what we've been taught, and so when we're
Mhm.
doing it, we think we're being dutiful.
Yeah.
Dutiful,
No.
right? We think we're being good people in
Yeah.
doing that, and that's where we have to start to question
Right.
all the things that we've been taught, all the things that we've learned, and be a scientist. Let me take a month and explore trying
Something.
it this way and see what the
Yeah.
difference is.
Yeah. Or again, realizing that you don't have to do it all yourself. Even in
Yeah.
Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, when he talks about the mastermind, when he illustrates people like, um, Henry Ford, right? When
Yeah.
he didn't know how to build all the stuff that he built.
Mhm.
Even most recently, let's look at Elon Musk. Do you think he knows how to build a Tesla? No. He knows how to assemble a team of people to get the results that he's looking for.
Yeah.
And that's, it should be the same for anybody else. Like, how can you leverage all the strengths that the universe has to offer you to manifest your shit?
Hmm. But then you have to really meet the control freaks where they are,
Mm.
because I mean, let's be real, you don't go from being, and I'm not calling names, I'm hello control freak.
Check the list. Check the list.
Yeah, check the list, I'm on it. um you don't just like, hey, I'm just gonna let it all go today, but no, you can do those incremental
Yes,
steps.
incremental. Yeah, and listen, I've got the book here. I don't know if we talked about it on yours too, and this is Flow, the Psychology of Optimal Experience, Mahali Shismali. Let's see if it doesn't get cut out there, right?
Yeah.
It says the same thing, right? Where it's like, and just like in uh growth mindset and all this, you want to give yourself enough of a challenge where you can believe that whatever is possible for you, and you take that incremental step,
Yeah.
right? And then sooner or later, like it's finally like you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah,
Whoa.
and Abraham Hicks, one of those 15-minute, talks about that. You don't have to take the massive leap. You can
Mm-mm.
take a little step and a step and a step and a step and a step, and eventually you're there. And
Right.
for me, that was really freeing because I was getting a lot of messages about you've got to leap, you've got to, make the quantum leap. And quantum leap is like the big buzz right now. Quantum leaps.
Quantum everything. Yeah.
Yes, and that stressed me out, I'll be real.
Yeah.
I'll be real, I
So
was like, "Oh, I gotta do this," and
so
as
the
soon as I gave myself permission to take steps,
right. She's
ah,
got she's got that, and she's also got like look for evidence of the thing happening, right? Like I think one of her talks is about like you want this beautiful set of plates. Well, then next thing you know, like broken plates start showing up in like whatever. You're like, I didn't order broken plates. I ordered this beautiful set. Well, that's the thing, kind of like coming into existence.
yeah,
Right. The other thing that in regards to because I'm triggered by all the words, right? In regards to taking the leap,
yeah,
think through the matrix. Nobody ever makes their first leap, right? But like in the matrix, like, and again, your mental construct, you fall down and it's a real big fall
mhm,
and it might hurt, but like you do get up and try again,
yeah, yeah,
right? Until like your eternity.
yeah, 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 I mean, it's just a series of conscious decisions,
Hmm.
and a lot of times we don't make conscious decisions because we're on autopilot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah,
Realizing that even if you feel like you've been making choices, have they been conscious choices, or have you been going along with what everybody else around you has suggested is best for you without sitting down and saying, is this really best for me? Do I
yeah,
believe that?
Yeah. It's funny. I actually was on somebody's podcast earlier today, and it's for learning disabilities. It's supporting people with learning disabilities or the parents of.
Mhm.
And that was a big thing, was just that getting into connection with yourself. Again, everybody's diet is different, everybody's spiritual truth is different, everybody's
Yeah,
truth in general is different. And the person may have 25 letters after their name, and they've experienced a lot of stuff and they've seen a lot of stuff, but they're not you.
that's right. That's right. It's what's the other? I'm rattling off no information that I've uncovered on my own. And but it's kind of like, you talk about everybody's spiritual growth and path is different. Uh, an oak tree doesn't look at like a daffodil and say you're doing it wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. Yeah. What's that one with the expecting a fish to ride a bicycle or something like that? Is that?
yeah, I think I've seen that too. Right, right. I mean, so we've got all these like weird things, and even with our children, even my son came home the other day, and it's like, stop treating us like children and start treating us like humans. Like, start treating us like,
Mhm.
we're actually treating us like we're capable of understanding, and
Yeah.
you'll see the acceleration that much faster.
Yeah. Wow. Your son said that?
Yeah.
I'm
What a
impressed.
jerk. Screw him. No, he's good. He's great. They're both good. They're both good kids.
My son's just always running around showing me his butt or something. I don't
Nice.
know. He's got a whole other spiritual path.
So he'll make it.
Oh, yeah.
They all do.
He's going to be the one to challenge the world and make everybody really question everything, because that's what he
Sure.
does. He
Yeah.
questions everything.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
good.
I encourage everyone to do that, but it's exhausting for my son, I got to
Except
say.
for my children. Yes. No, I get it for sure. For sure. But I mean, even along those lines, right? And we are talking a little bit about just kind of accepting what everybody else thought it was that we should do or thinks that it is that we should do. And I think that it's once you realize, and again, small baby steps,
Mhm.
make conscious, purpose driven decisions, choices for yourself. And then, like, you start to honestly, like, for me, it was like a revelation, this power of choice. Like, when I was like 39, because I don't want to say I was 40 because I want to give myself like a year. Um, like, where I was like, wait a second, I can do this like on my own. I can make my own choices, and like
Mhm.
even like voicing things that like I might not have voiced before, not necessarily standing up for myself, but like saying something that I might want, or just all the stuff that I'd never really done. Yeah,
Like
and
saying
and
yes at the checkout line.
yes, definitely want money, or even saying no to somebody, right? Or
Yeah,
like, again, consciously making the decision not to do a bunch of busy work and feel like you got to do everybody else's job because like you need to feel like you've got to be the hero at work,
yeah,
right? Be
yeah,
like, hey, you know what? I'm pretty sure we've got a whole team of people that can do this, and
yeah.
I might take an extra 10 minutes at lunch today because I can't do anything to accelerate that.
And it's funny because I do see that now. I know I was that person who overdid to be the good person,
Right?
and
Yeah.
I see that in others now, and I'm like, "Oh, damn."
Well, I used to work like, 12, 16-hour days.
Yeah,
I didn't get paid anymore, and I didn't get any more accolades, and
no,
honestly, I don't feel like I made it any further in my life,
no.
and that reminds me of the story that, like, I'm always, talking about, it's like, the monk, or the lay person that wants to go, like, get enlightenment, right? Goes
Mhm.
and he shows up at the master's house, and he says, "I wanna get enlightenment, I wanna reach nirvana," and all this other stuff, and he goes, "How long do you think that'll take me?" He goes, "About 10 years." And the guy goes, "10 years?" He goes, "Well, what if I work twice as hard, put in twice as much time, all this other stuff?" And the master goes, "20 years."
Yes.
He's like, "Well, it's true though. Like
Yeah,
sometimes again, the thing that we're looking for, the thing that we're seeking is seeking us. Let like something come to you."
yeah. Let's say that again for the people in the back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You are programmed to receive.
Yeah, yeah. We have to remember. And, you know, and it's funny because like I'll go along and I'll be on a good run and then I backslide a little bit into those habits. Like there's a new thing
Sure.
I want and I'm like, yeah, how can I make this happen? And I'm like,
Right.
crap, I'm blocking it.
Yeah.
And I have
Well,
to lean back and give it that space. And like you said, that kind of move away that box that I'm
yeah.
holding in front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Create space and allow for it to be in there. Like I've thrown out so much stuff, like just because like what am I holding on to stuff for? It's like, I
Hmm.
don't know anymore.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, 100%.
I love it. Well,
100%.
and you have a, tell me about, you have an event coming up.
Oh yeah. What did I put out? So, look, we're rolling into the holidays. I don't even know what I called it, but like I'm like, let me go find it because I do have an event coming up. If this goes out
And I
before
think
when it
that this
oh,
is a
this is live
really
right now, right?
nice thing for people at this time. And again, it's just that
Yeah.
same idea of sort of like that story you said, but what is it? The person says, I don't have time to meditate 10 minutes a day, so then you meditate an hour. You know?
Right. No, 100%. So what I'm trying to go to like my spiritual dope platform. I'm doing a breathwork session to like build resilience, right? Let me find it here. Spiritual dope. Uh and the thing is, it's like we're so tense and we're so aggravated and we're so everything. And Thanksgiving is probably one of the easier holidays to be around our families for, but we still have a lot of like just kind of drama that we're kind of expecting before
Mhm,
the
mhm,
holidays,
mhm.
right? So we're
We're
anticipating that we're
armoring
gonna
up.
yeah, we're like, oh man, I'm gonna fight with mom, I'm gonna fight with
Yep.
dad, fuck
Yep.
politics,
Yeah.
dad, I can't believe my guy didn't win. I'm gonna have to fucking hear about it. Oh my god, they're gonna watch sports all day. I hate their gravy. You know what I mean? They're gonna ask me how my breathwork sessions are going. I don't want to talk. They don't fucking care, right? So, and you're getting yourself like all built up for this. Instead of that, right? I'm gonna do a breathwork session that says, hey, let's visualize like just that you're here living your purpose, that let's visualize a great event. Like what would it look like if things went exactly the way you would like them to versus how they've gone in the past? At least like, and this is Abraham Hicks too, start to pre-pave it, right?
Yeah.
Pre-pave it. And so,
And I have
just
to
do
tell
it.
you, that does work.
It
That
does work.
really works. Yes. I've
And
done it.
so we'll do a breath work to, relax in the moment and do some creative visualization. And then, say a couple prayers and fucking mantras and walk right into Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
and one of the reasons why I want to do it, just a couple days before the holidays is because most people that show up for these breathwork sessions, they don't practice it every day, right? And they'll only practice it like in an event like this. And maybe never again. I don't care, unless they come to my sessions, or anybody's sessions. I don't care. Uh, it's the effects of that 20-minute breath work will last maybe like 3 days. So if you come in, you sit with me for a breath work session that, you know, an hour of your life, it should last you like another 72 hours. It should get you to Black Friday. That's all I'm trying to do.
That's
Trying
it.
to
And,
get you to
you
Black
know,
Friday.
in yoga, it's called prana, right?
Yep.
And it's essentially is life force energy. Like that's,
Yeah. And
I mean,
it, it'll
it's
it'll
so powerful.
interrupt. Yeah, it'll interrupt your default mode network. It'll
Yes.
help to reset your autonomic nervous system. It'll set you on to a good neurological peptide high that your
Yeah.
body will replicate for a few days.
Yeah.
And man, listen, if all I can do is get you through Thanksgiving and
Mhm.
in a manner that isn't like, oh, bless you, and all this other stuff, like
You still get to be you.
you still get to be you. Like you can come in there. I don't care. Like, I don't care. I said that to one of my clients once. I was like, I care about you, but I don't. I care that you use the tools because they're actually going to work. And if you don't, then I can't care any more than you do. Right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the tools work. That's
Yeah.
what I love. I love people too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not cold and callous, but like it's like just do the things, they'll work.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't know.
Love it.
But thanks for highlighting it, right? Yeah, so you can go to
Yeah.
Spiritual Dope. I've got it over at Spiritual Dope on Facebook.
And it's spiritualdope.co, right?
Yeah, that's
It's
the website.
it's the
And I think I've
website.
even
And
got
then
like a breath work. And
you have an event on Facebook.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah, and like I'm doing like donation based, and I gotta start charging more,
Mhm.
because if I don't charge for it, then A, you won't see the value in it. Like, I mean, how many
Yes.
times have you gotten something for free and you're like, what am I doing with this? And you've got a
Yeah.
bag full of free shit that you're not using, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. Everybody wants free, but they don't value free. So
Right.
that's yeah.
So, and then like if I don't charge for it, you know, I don't mind paying for it and all doing all the stuff because I love doing what I do.
Mhm.
But like that allows me to scale out and do it for more people. So if you like what you're getting,
That's it.
then let me do it for more people.
Yes. And that's it, and that again goes back to that all that receiving that we talked about, and source wants for you to be sustainable so that you can
Right.
make the impact you're meant to make.
That's right.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, what do you think? Final thoughts? You want to talk about spiritual dope?
Look, I mean, so yeah, Spiritual Dope, the platform, I look at it as more of a platform because it's not, um, you know, it's not niche. Do
Mhm.
breath work, but the podcast, I think if there's anybody else that's tuned into Kaluwa and what she's sharing and what she's doing, you may enjoy the podcast of hers on the Spiritual Dope podcast when it's released. But there may be some other people that can help you see that you're not crazy going through what you're going through,
Yeah.
and it may give you an opportunity to see how other people are living like these fully spiritual lives and still having great success and impact. And I think that that's a real big challenge for people who are again just awakening to their spiritual selves, and they're like, oh well, I got to go be a monk in a cave in a loincloth. No, you
Yes.
don't. You don't
Yes.
have to. You
Yeah.
can and enjoy it.
And yeah. Yeah.
But the other option is to continue doing what you're doing, but like with this kind of like I don't know. Uh I never followed the Dojin Suzuki, but Alan Watts talked about him a lot. It's kind of like walking 2 inches above like the ground, right? Like when
Mhm.
you accept like the spiritual path for yourself
Yeah.
and that like you are a spiritual being, you're like a Matthew Wilder song from like the 80s, ain't
Yeah.
nothing gonna,
Yeah,
so
that's what I love to do is just bring that into everything. And for me, it
mhm,
actually started quite a few years ago where I was in a business. It was Inspired Women in Business, and it was about bringing like divinity into your
mhm,
business.
yeah,
And it just got to be so much lighter,
yeah.
right?
You're not
It
doing it by
just,
you're like what even if you are doing it yourself, like you can do it as Kaluwa the human
yeah.
or as Kaluwa the divine being.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you take on a whole new mannerism. You're like, well, there's Kaluwa over
I
there.
like
And
that
she's
my
pretty cool.
divine being is like baritone.
For sure, I got this.
Yes. But it truly is because it's like when you think you're stuck, when you think you don't know what to do, it's like, actually, I do. All I need
Mm.
to do is calm my mind and tap into it, right? And so it just gets to be this different take.
Listen, it's like opening a mayonnaise jar, right? You're sitting there, you're struggling, and then you're like, what the hell? And then like you give it like this gentle twist. You're like, come on, man. Same deal, right? Like,
Yeah,
because you're struggling and struggling, trying to do all yourself
yeah,
so hard.
yeah,
And then if you just step back and know that you can and you're able to do it, then you just do it. And it's just kind of like, um, and again, it's like Jesus said, I think Jesus said it's in the Bible or something. It's like, give it no thought, right? Just
yeah.
do it.
And it's funny because what's said is the front of your body is what faces the world, right? This is your face to the world, but the back of your body is how you connect to the divine.
Mm,
And so I just always think that that's such a great reminder that that's all you have to do is lean back.
mm,
Just lean back, right? Because we tend to be like this. We tend to be like
yeah.
all facing forward, like, all right, what do I need to do now? What do I need to do now? What do I lean
Yeah.
back is what you
Yeah.
need to do now and let the downloads just pop in.
That's right.
And
That's
that's it.
right.
And that's whenever that happens. It's like always during my quiet morning time. And it's like, holy crap, I got to write all this down. Right? It
For
just like
sure.
all comes flying in.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, it works when you lose things too, right? I can't find my XYZ. Like, so I just said, all right, cool. And I move on. And next thing I know, like it pops up and like you don't freak out about it. Like just like, oh, it's lost. You're like, no, it's not. I just don't know where it is right now. That's,
Yeah.
and just kind of move on and you end up finding the things. Just to, kind of this hyper focus on the thing that you want that's not there only makes it not be there much longer, a
Yeah,
la
that's true.
Abraham Hicks. So,
Yes, that's true. It's funny because I tend to go, damn it. I know I specifically just put that someplace so that I wouldn't forget where it was. And I forgot where the new place was. I remembered the old place.
yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, so I know it's around here in a very logical place. So I'm
Yeah.
just going to be calm about it. And then I always end up,
That's
a
there. Yeah.
little bit later, there it is.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. Well, Brendan, thank you so much for visiting. It was such a great conversation. I love having you here. Come back anytime.
Yeah, Pulaski. Like, and how about that? Like, again, from the beginning, right? Like, all those years, emails sent back and forth. Met you through Elise, who I introduced to Jeremy, who you worked with for a while. You were on Jeremy's podcast,
Yep.
and I was like, come on, man. And the spirituality space, I was like, we got to talk, and we
And
never
that's
talked.
it. Yeah.
It's funny. So
Exactly. And
we've done it.
I didn't find you on a farm somewhere. I didn't, right? It was just like everyday life.
That's
And
it. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. They're out
yeah,
there.
they're out there, 100%.
Uh
Well, thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who has stuck with us till the end. I appreciate you being here. And just remember that there is a spark in you. See you next time.